Today, you'll learn how to lead with calm instead of react with panic, using Daniel Burrus' anticipatory mindset to turn uncertainty into opportunity, to build habits that stick. So stay to the end for 5 actions that you can use this week. If this helps, follow the advisor with Stacey Chillemi on Apple, Spotify, and subscribe at Stacey Chillemi Advisor and add a 5-star review so more people find it. My guest today, Daniel, is a futurist and he's a strategist behind the Anticipatory Organization Framework. Daniel, I am so excited to have you on the show. I love the topics that you cover and I love the areas of business that you focus on. I think it's so important in the business world. Can you tell everybody a little about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm on a mission to get as many people on planet Earth to be
Mhm.
less reactionary and more anticipatory. And
Mhm.
and basically, the framing of that is that businesses everywhere are relying on agility to
Yeah.
handle the rapid pace of technological driven change. But it's not working that well. And I'll tell you why. Agility is reactionary. It came from sports, agile. So the faster you can react to a disruption, the better. The faster you can react to a problem, the better. The problem is technology is advancing at beyond exponential speeds. Reacting is no longer good enough. Now, again, I don't want you to stop being agile. That's half of the strategy coin. I'm glad you're doing it. What I want to teach you all today is the other half, and that is how to be anticipatory, how to accurately anticipate disruptions before they disrupt, turning disruption into a choice, how to accurately anticipate problems before you have them so you can pre-solve them and move forward faster. So it really is the playing defense is agile. I'm going to show you how to play offense, how to be anticipatory.
I love that. Now, in plain English, what is anticipatory mindset and how is it different from being a fast reactor?
Well, a reactionary mindset, no matter how fast you are, tends to be a crisis manager because
Mhm.
we react to change. It comes to us from the outside in, forcing us to crisis manage. And again, we got to do it fast
Yeah.
because we're getting disrupted. Our careers are getting disrupted thanks to AI. Our businesses are getting disrupted. Our search and our website is getting disrupted. Everything seems to be getting, meaning we're crisis managing, and that is not a way to be a successful entrepreneur. Remember, you didn't mention at the beginning, but I've started 6 companies. 5 were profitable in the first year. 4 were national leaders in the first year, and I've never had a business loan. So I do know how to rapidly build companies, and they've been in everything from aviation and having my own airplane design to developing the first mobile real estate app, which now we call Zillow, and many others in between. So I don't just write books and give speeches and do consulting. I actually do this. So being anticipatory does work. So you ask kind of what's at the core of it. And
Mhm.
I'm going to set up the core right now so that that can frame the rest of our conversation.
Okay.
Plus, I'm a teacher at heart. So rather than just give you some trends for 2026 and say, hey, good luck, what I want to do is teach you how you can be much better at preparing yourself for the future and anticipating with accuracy. So most people don't look at trends very often. Why? Some happen and some don't, right?
Right. Mhm.
Besides, there's no certainty in the world other than death and taxes. We've got so much going on. You can't be certain of anything. By the way, if you're not certain, what do? Well, you hesitate. You have
Yes.
a let's wait and see what will happen. By the way,
Mhm.
if you've got a let's wait and see mindset, you are not going to like 2026 and beyond
Yeah.
because it's moving way too fast. And again, there's no shortage of trends. The problem is which ones will happen and when. Well, I've solved that problem. The Pentagon is using this methodology I'm about to teach you. The Air Force is using it. So is Google. So is Apple. And by the way, you can too.
I
And
love it.
it's amazingly cool. And
Yeah.
I've taken this complexity and simplified it into something very digestible. Let me share it with you. And that is all trends, no matter what they are, fit into one of 2 buckets. They're either a hard trend based on a future fact that will happen. By the way, the litmus test on that is If it can be changed, it's not a hard trend. But if it
Right.
can't be changed, it is a hard trend. I'll give you examples in a minute. Let me just go on a little further. So, what a hard trend does is it gives you certainty in an uncertain world. And by the way, there are thousands of them instead of one or two or three or four. And when you
Mhm.
have certainty, what do you have? The confidence to make a bold move.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you are talking to a potential customer or a
Hmm.
potential client and they are uncertain, you know what they say? Here's what they say. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
You've all heard that, haven't you? But when they have total confidence, they start writing checks. They say yes. So this is about how to have increased confidence that comes from certainty. So what a hard trend does is it lets you see disruptions before they disrupt, turning disruption into a choice. And let me tell you what I'd like you all to become from this moment forward, and that is positive disruptors. Now, here's what I mean by that. Most people don't like disruption. Why? It happens to them, and now they got to crisis manage again. I want you to be creating the disruptions, the positive disruptions. So, what is a positive disruption? It's one that uses technology to transform, not change, but transform um, and elevate relevancy, because you're
Yes.
either going to be more relevant or less relevant. There's no middle. And to accelerate innovation and growth.
Hmm.
It also helps you to solve problems before they happen. How many times have we all said, well, I knew that would happen? And I would say, well, then why did you let it? And I
Yeah.
know why we let those things happen because you didn't trust your instinct. That's why
Right.
you let that happen. Even though you knew it would happen, you let it happen. But what if you had 100% surety that you know that will happen? Well, you're going to stop it from happening so that
Right.
you can move forward faster. So hard trends gives you all of that. Then there
Mhm.
are soft trends, the other kind of trend. And a soft trend is not based on a future fact that will happen. It's based on an assumption that may or may not happen. Now, he didn't say it won't, but may happen and will happen are two very different things when it comes to innovation and managing risk as an entrepreneur or business person.
Yes.
So, a soft trend, it can be the thing I love about a soft trend. If you don't like it, it can be changed.
Yes.
The thing about a hard trend is I can see the future before other people see it, giving me an
Hmm.
advantage. And
Right.
so I'm teaching two things. I've taught you the first thing. I'm about to teach you the second big one. Then I'll give you a few examples and let you ask me some questions. So,
Right.
the first thing is all trends are either hard or soft. That's it. So, whenever you're talking about a trend and you should be planning your future, especially now that we're getting at this time of the year,
Yeah.
um, you're looking at trends. All right, are they hard or are they soft? But remember, if it can be changed, it's soft. And here's the other one that I haven't taught you yet that's super important. A trend by itself is academic, who cares?
Hmm.
Until you attach an opportunity to it. The minute an opportunity is attached to it, it bursts into actionable life. So
Right.
if someone says, "Hey, here's a trend that I think will happen," stop and say, "Wait a minute. Let's ask ourselves, do we know it will happen or do we think it will happen?" So
Right.
that we can put it into one of those two piles. And by the way, what is the advantage of a soft trend? If you don't like it, you can change it.
Yes.
So let me give you a couple quick examples so that people can see there is such a thing as certainty in an uncertain world.
Hmm.
Right now in the United States, we have 10,000 people every day turning 70. Maybe you didn't know that number. 10,000 a day. By the way,
Wow.
hard trend, they're not going to get younger.
Yeah.
Now, see, that can't be changed. They're going to get older. They can
Right.
get healthier, but age-wise, they're going to get older. By the way, we could predict based on that a lot of future problems and pre-solve them, or we can let them play out. We
Yes.
could see a whole bunch of new products and services that we could offer that giant growing demographic that has low risk because they're going to get older.
Hmm.
Or we could just let it happen and wait for them to ask for those products. Um,
Right.
but again, I want to be ahead of the curve here. I don't want to be behind the curve. So
Exactly.
demographics is an example. Let me give you a technology example, and there are many demographic examples. Let's give you a technology one. From a wireless standpoint, we went from 2G wireless to 3G wireless to 4G wireless. We have 5G wireless. Is that it? Well,
Mhm.
no, we're going to have 6G followed by 7G. And we're putting a lot in the cloud, right? Hey, is the
Yeah,
cloud getting full? No, it's not getting full.
right.
And we could put a lot more in the cloud. And if you don't like AI, can we just say, let's pull the switch, let's turn it off? The answer is no, you can't. It's going to be getting more powerful at an exponential level every month and year. The key is not that hard trend, it's going to get more powerful. The key
Hmm.
is the soft trend that underlies it, and that is what are you and your business going to do about it? By the way,
Right.
that's soft. I don't know if you're going to do anything. You may just wait yourself right out of business. Or you might say, no, hey, this is a hard trend, and I want to be the positive disruptor. What can we do to revolutionize our sales process with an AI assist?
Right.
Notice I didn't say an AI replace.
Hmm.
That's an important factor here because what AI does is it does not replace humans, it amplifies them. And we'll
Exactly.
get a little bit more into AI, a little more into this podcast. But I just wanted to lay out so we have hard trends and soft trends. And by the way, if your strategy is based on hard trends and opportunities, you will look at, well, that'll take time and money perhaps to pursue.
Right.
And if you're got a chief financial officer and you're a bigger company and you're going to them to ask for money, they've been trained to say no. They don't
Hmm.
like to give you money. So I'm going to teach you how to get a yes out of them. You lay out, here is the hard trend future fact, instead of saying, here's what we want to do.
Right.
And here's the opportunity, and here's how we're pursuing it. Here's what we need to make that happen. And then one more big thing instead of stopping and waiting for them to answer. And that is, by the way, let me tell you what the cost of not doing it is. Because the cost of the no, if it's based on a hard trend, is always far bigger than the cost of doing it. Why? Because if you don't do it, someone else will, because it's a future fact and it's going to happen anyway. If you don't do
Hmm.
it, someone else will. So, what's the cost in terms of our relevancy? Because they're either going to be more relevant or less relevant. There's no middle. You're either going to be the disruptor or the disrupted. There is no middle. The middle is gone. A lot of companies are coasting. Well, remember, you can only coast downhill, gravity takes over, and there is a bottom.
Hmm.
So what I'm giving you then is that other side of the coin here. Now, we could go into a lot, but I'm going to let you do a little driving now because you've been patient letting me kind of lay out the fundamentals. Go ahead and throw some questions at me.
Okay, well, I love what you have to say. You're so on ball with the comments that you just made, and it is so true that we have so many individuals that they are so uncertain when they, and a lot of times they're not visionary. They're less visionary out there because of the belief core where they have that uncertainty, that worry, and they don't really look at the long-term vision of what could happen. If they do this, the positive outcome, the positive reach that they can make. So that was an excellent comment, and I loved how you really you commented on think about what will this cost you if you don't do it, and that's an excellent response for someone to stop and think, what will that cost me if I don't do it? Because a lot of times people are worried that, if I do it, maybe I won't get the return of investment back. I won't do anything for me. I've had something in the past that I did that didn't work out, and they let these things stop them from making decisions that could help them, their business, their corporation or whatever they are grow. So that's an excellent comment that you made. Now you talked about hard trends and soft trends. Like, how does that split instantaneously, and how does it help lower stress for a leader?
Well, it lets you know what you can't change, but can take action on. and what you
Hmm.
can change to make things better for yourself. Let's take a example of a trend that's been going on for decades, frankly.
Right.
And I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to let you tell me whether it's a hard or a soft trend. However, you're just learning this, so don't worry if you're wrong or right because this is a teaching moment. Okay?
Right.
So,
Hmm.
healthcare costs in the United States, they have been going up, 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 up for decades. Up, up, up every year. By the way, that's a trend. Now,
Hmm.
is that up a hard trend or is it a soft trend? Just what do you think off the top of your head?
I think it's a soft trend.
Wow, you are smart. Very good. Yeah. See, government and most people think it's a hard trend. Why does government think that? Well, look at what they do. When they're doing healthcare reform, what are they really doing? Health payment reform. How do we pay for the mess the baby boomers will cause as they get older? And
Right.
by the way, it doesn't look pretty. It almost looks like an impossible situation. But it's only
Right.
impossible because you think it's a hard trend. But when you
Hmm.
realize, oh, that's a total soft trend. If you don't like it,
Yeah.
you can change it. And then what do we do? Well, what I do is I say, well, let's look at technology since it lets you do turn the impossible into the possible and see
Yeah.
if there's some tools that can lower the cost of healthcare. Let me give you a quick example. So we'll just take it to another little step here. So, right now, most of us don't realize that an aspirin in a hospital costs $25, one aspirin. Now,
Mhm.
if you knew that, you'd have your spouse or a friend bring it. But you
Yeah.
didn't know that. You don't know that if you played too much tennis when you were young, that artificial knee made by the same company, same size, same everything can vary in price by over 100%. You don't know that. It's
Right.
all part of the magic. And
Mhm.
so it's unknown. However, if we put all of that on a blockchain for healthcare so
Mhm.
that it is highly secure and all of the prices are visible,
Right.
all of a sudden, what would happen to competition? Well, you'd start getting some competition because we would know, I'm not paying that. We aren't doing that. And there would be all sorts of costs would come down. By the way, there is a blockchain for healthcare, and its first round of funding was 100 million, and it's gone up from there. But I'm
Right.
only using one example. Now I could get into many, but I'm just showing you how we could do quite a bit here. And in
Right.
terms of being an entrepreneur, let's stay with healthcare and with demographics and that hard trend and show you how we can invent something that currently does not exist that is huge. Let's show you how
Right.
it works. So I'm going to take demographics again. Now I could be looking at younger people. Remember, it's not just the aging. I could be looking at any. Let's go back to that aging population with 10,000 every day turning 70. Well,
Right.
what happens when you get in your 80s and 90s if you like to go boating? Well, it gets
Hmm.
kind of hard to launch the boat,
Yeah.
all right? Especially in the late 80s and 90s. But you
Mhm.
still like to go. So, what if you and I created the easy launch trailer, boat trailer for seniors and did a
Right.
really good design? Would we have a growing market every year? Well, yeah,
Yes.
I could give you hard numbers on that. If I was going to a bank to get a loan for this business, I could give them hard numbers. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I could even say out of those giant numbers, there's even a way to know who likes boating and who already owns a boat. I mean, this is unbelievable. So easy to make a lot of money. Would we know which countries to export it to? Well,
Right.
perfectly. The aging populations. Canada, yes. Mexico, no. They're a young population. But that knowledge is all there. Now, let's throw something out to all of you listening right now. There is no easy launch trailer for seniors. Um, think to yourself, I will never see that. Would you agree with that? We'll never see one of those. I
No,
don't think I don't think you'd agree with that. Why? Because if it can be done, it will be done. If you don't do it, someone else will.
right.
See, I'm showing you how you can innovate with low risk.
Hmm.
And by the way, this works unbelievably well and just in any business. And I picked on baby boomers, but I could pick on just about any of the different hard trend, soft trend categories and move to it. So remember, if it's a soft trend, if you don't like it, you can change it. So let's say that right now in your industry, whatever it is, let's say your industry is going down, 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 down. In other words, we're in a down cycle already,
Right.
and we're already worried about, 2026 as it unfolds further, and we're in a down
Right.
cycle. Um, and my industry is going down. Is that hard or soft?
So it is if the industry is going down and yours is going up, you said?
Well, no, no, no. I'm in an industry, and that whole industry is going down.
Okay.
So sales are going down.
Okay. So that still is a soft because if you take action immediately, you can actually you can actually turn it and do a 360, no?
Very good. You are absolutely perfect. You see, most people, when they're in an industry where it's going down, they just write it down and say it's bad times and hopefully it'll turn around.
Right.
But if you realize that's not a hard trend, unstoppable, unchangeable, as you
Hmm.
pointed out, if I realize, wait a minute, that's a soft trend. Now, I can't stop the industry from going down, but I can stop my company from going down. But what
Right.
I do, and
Hmm.
uh, and you see what I'm getting at?
Yep.
So let's give you a. I'm going to give everybody a and I'm not going to put you on the spot every time here, but thanks for playing along. And by the way, you're good. So you see, once you have this methodology, it isn't that hard, is it? You can
No.
start to see how it works. So I'm going to give a really tough trend statement. And this
Hmm.
is now, we're going to advanced already here. And
Okay.
that here's the statement. A lot of people in my organization will be retiring over the next couple of years. And when they retire, they'll take their knowledge and wisdom with them. Now, when you hear that, it's tough. It's hard. Hard to figure it out. How do
Right.
I know what that is? That's a tough one. No, it's not. Here's how you really make it work. Here's the hint. If you hear the word and or there's a comma,
Right.
probably you probably have two trends.
Hmm.
Probably a hard and a soft, and usually the hard leads, the soft follows. Let's go to what I just said. A lot of people will be retiring in our organization over the next couple of years. Hard trend. Look at their age. And they'll take their knowledge and wisdom with them when they leave. Totally soft. We can let them take their knowledge and wisdom with them, or we
Hmm.
can say, I would like to capture that before they leave. So
Yeah.
what do we do? Well, we could implement a formal mentoring program.
Hmm.
We could actually develop a knowledge base. I know you got a database. Would you rather have a database or a knowledge base?
No.
Well, yeah, you already know the answer to that.
Mhm.
So you see, we could do something about now we're empowered. Now, instead of, well, I don't know what we're going to do about that. Or here's another one. Right now in the field of accounting,
Mhm.
the whole world of accounting is really worried because people that are undergraduates going to college are not choosing accountant. That their numbers are falling like a rock. They're not
Mhm.
going into accounting. And they're going, oh man, I don't know what we're going to do. We're not going to have enough accountants. It's really bad news. And
Mhm.
they see that as a hard trend. Wrong. It's a total soft trend. Why?
Right.
Because students are looking at being an accountant by looking at a rearview mirror, what
Mhm.
accounting was. They're not looking at the future of what accounting is about to become because of
Right.
AI and all the other things. Because in the
Mhm.
past, what accountants did is they verified the past. All your
Right.
records, all your work is correct. We've done an audit. Everything is accurate. You're right up
Yep.
to speed. Um, and of course, if you use hard trends here, you can see that AI is going to do real-time streaming accounting and auditing. What do we need
Right.
accountants for? Well, we
Mhm.
need accountants, but not to just verify the past. What they'll do is look at their verified past, draw the insights and the foresights, and deliver that as consultative value.
Mhm.
And they'll have an edge over others because of why? And that is, we live in a human world, not just a technology-driven world. And in a
Right.
human world, it's all based on relationships, and good relationships are based on trust. And
Right.
by the way, accountants and auditors have high trust. By the way, if you
Yes.
don't trust your accountant, get rid of them now. So they have high trust already. Oh, that's
Yeah.
gold. That's gold. So what I would suggest to accountants and auditors is you're going to become anticipatory problem solvers and trusted advisors.
I like that.
You see, now if young people could see that and see
Hmm.
how AI can play a role, not to eliminate them, but enhance them and magnify them, as I said earlier, you get a
Yeah.
lot of people going into accounting. They don't want to go into the past of accounting. They want to go into the future of accounting. If I started changing how young people think about accounting, guess what? All of a sudden, you would see a lot of them going into accounting. Because, oh, there's a
Right.
future here. Whoa, I didn't realize that. I thought it
Hmm.
was a dead profession.
Yeah.
Bad thinking, past thinking instead
Right.
of future thinking.
Hmm. I love that. Now, for the person listening in a fire drill today, like, what's your first 24-hour step to shift from reacting to anticipating?
I love that. Well, the first thing to do would be to ask yourself, make a list of future facts, hard
Right.
trends, and categories like technology. Look at the whole span of technology. By the way, if you want to look at the whole span of technology and not pay anything, I'm going to give you a resource right now to do that. And that is you could go to 25techtrendsreport.com and you'll get my 2026 list of 25 technologies. By the way, it's a lot more than AI that's transforming our world on us. You should be aware of what's going on. You don't need
Oh,
to
yeah.
be a technologist. I want you aware. Let's face
Mhm.
it, you don't have to know how a smartphone works, the physics of it, in order to use it, right? You
Exactly.
just have to know it exists. I'd like you to know it exists. And so I would like you to look at those things on the technology side, look at demographics and look
Hmm.
at the millennials and the Gen Zs and the baby boomers and the different ones, and then start looking at what are the opportunities for us when we segment our
Yes.
marketing, when we
Hmm.
segment our outreach, and
Right.
so on. So make a list of the hard trend, future facts, and remember, a trend by itself, you got to attach an opportunity to each one for you.
Hmm.
And do that with soft trends, because as you're doing it, you'll come up with some soft trends, and you'll say, no, 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 you know what? That can be changed. That's a soft trend. Good. I love those. Don't throw them away. Put that in a soft trend pile and the opportunity to influence it in a positive direction.
Right.
You will get a list. And when you
Mhm.
get that list of opportunities, remember, big lists never get done. So I want you to get rid of all the things you could do. I want you to get rid of all the things you think you should do because you won't do those either. I want you
Yeah.
to boil it down to one or two things that you have decided is a must do.
Right.
Because if I don't, I will be disrupted
Right.
and then act on them. And again, if you'd like to, the first step ideally would be you can connect with me or follow me on LinkedIn, Daniel Burrus, and I share a whole lot on there. That's why I've got over 1 million followers. And you can go to Burrus, BURRUS.com. I've written literally thousands of articles and blogs. You could search them by subject there. That doesn't cost any money. And if you want to pay a little bit, go to Amazon, search my name, and pick up my last book, because I've written six that have been New York Times bestsellers, The Anticipatory Organization. And it sounds like it's just for companies, but it can be applied to individuals so easily. If you
Right.
started that, you would be better at defining the hard and the soft and the opportunities. But that is a great place to start.
I love that. I love that. Now, your books, like, what are the topics they consist of?
Well, one of the books mentioned the anticipatory organization, where I go into far more than hard and soft trends. Remember, I mentioned that I've started six companies that have done extremely well.
Yes.
And I like to, like I said in the beginning, I'm kind of a teacher at heart. I like to teach others. I don't want to be the only person that knows that. I get a lot of joy out of that. That's why
Yeah.
we're doing this today. And
Mhm.
and that's why I've got so many free resources. I just want to empower people. So,
Yeah.
and of course, hope you buy something along the way. But the point I'm getting at is uh, you've got to take action
Yes.
and to make things happen. And I don't want you to be a passive receiver of
Mhm.
the future. I want you to be an active shaper
Yes.
of the future.
Hmm.
And again, go in and check out the resources. And I did want to make sure in this interview I talked a little bit about AI.
Yes.
And I'm going to pivot a minute to AI because It's huge. And when ChatGPT first came out, I was quoted by a big interview I did out in New York, and that is the question was, will humans be replaced by AI? And I said, humans will be replaced by humans using AI.
Yeah.
So if you haven't started dabbling in it or using it, you should get going on it. Start
Hmm.
learning, start using, and remember, it can get you 80% there fast, not 100%.
Right.
It's a first draft, not a last draft. We need you. We need
Yes.
human oversight like crazy. And I'm
Yes.
an advisor to the DoD on AI and other big companies on AI. So I am an AI expert and a top 10 influencer on AI. So, with
Mhm.
that said, and knowing we only have a little bit of time in this interview, I'm going to give everybody another free resource. How's that? Because we
I
don't have a
love
lot of time to talk about it. So, I have reviewed and personally used, get this, over 1,500 AI tools. You probably don't know
Wow.
people that have done that. And you've probably seen lists of tools. These are great tools. These are great tools. I've
Hmm.
seen those lists. I've tried all of those things. A lot of them are junk. But
Yeah.
these people are copying it or putting it out there or asked AI what's good, and AI told them what's good, but that doesn't make it good. I've actually
Yeah.
used these. So here's what I did. I looked at all of them, and I've come up with the top five in a whole bunch of number of categories of things that you can use them for.
Right.
Most people don't even know the categories. Then I put in use cases of how companies have used them to get
Yeah.
competitive advantage in each category. And I've given prompt tips in there. And by the
Yeah.
way, every single tool you can try for free. You don't have to pay for it. And if you like it, then you can buy. And most of them are not that expensive. The typical rate on these things is like $20 a month, as you know. So
Right.
if you would like to download that report, which by the way, I update every 2 months because there's so much going on,
Yeah.
you can go to AIstrategyreport.com and download it, get it for free, and look through it and see what works for you. Because I've got the best ones for marketing, got the best ones for imaging, got the best ones for every category. And there's a lot of categories beyond the few that most people can rattle off the top of their head, which is
Yeah.
typically three or four
Exactly.
versus 20 or 30. So it's amazing when you really realize, whoa, what it all can do.
Right. It's so funny because when AI, AI started back in, I think in the 1970s, and they used it originally in the military, and it was to help, protect the country, and they were, using it in that respect. And then later on, as it evolved, we started using it and learned how to use it. But it's funny because even in the business world, I see even large companies, they're using it as a tool and trying to replace humans. And I find that, it's really ridiculous because you can't, we're humans. We want human interaction. We want to speak to another human being, and if the person behind the phone is speaking to you and they're getting extracting information with the help of AI, great. But a human being wants to speak to another human being. And I see that all the time. I'm sure you're aware. You call up for something, all you hear is automated responses, and it's taking you here, it's taking you there, and sometimes it doesn't even understand what you're saying, and you're going around in a maze. And that really discourages the consumer. And the consumers are the ones that help grow the country, and they keep people with jobs. And I really think that we're in a mist right now where people there are people that are trying to save money with their companies, and they're thinking I could have AI replace this one and this and do this department and this, but it's actually I feel like it's going to backfire, and I feel like it's going to get a point where we're going to see that downhill, and we're seeing it now because a lot of big companies are actually going downhill because they took that route, they tried it, and people do not like it.
Well, you see the mistake they're making that you're bringing up, and now let me throw on another layer to that, and that is what they're doing is taking their current role, which by the way is obsolete already. Everybody's current role is obsolete.
Yes.
What do I need to do? Well, if you don't think it is, you need to be the one rendering it that way and then deciding what is my future role and do that now. So, what we're
Yes.
doing, what companies are doing is saying, here's a person's role, we can get rid of them instead of No, how can we magnify what they do? How do we elevate what they do so that they can provide far more value than they ever provided before because they were too busy doing busy work? Because what we're doing
Exactly.
is getting rid of the busy work. Instead of saying 90% of your job is busy work, so you're fired, it's like, what would happen if we took 90% of the busy work away from you and allowed you to flourish in doing the higher level activities? Analysis,
Exactly.
problem solving, synthesis, and all those other things. Well, all of a sudden, woo, it works great. And by the way, I've done a lot of research on this, and a lot of companies that have laid people off have been hiring them back because they went overboard. And you made an earlier comment about AI being for the military back in the 70s, and it was used for business in the early 80s, actually. Banks, insurance companies were using it to qualify people for a loan. It was an early version. And
Okay.
when I started my research company way back in, believe it or not, 1983. Whoa, been around that long doing it. AI was in my top 20 list of exponential technologies that would shape the future. By the
Right.
way, genetic engineering was on there, fiber optics, the internet, photovoltaics, all of that stuff was on there. So it's been around for a long time, but it's evolved because the power of AI and the chips and everything is bigger and does so much more. So most of us are only aware of it since ChatGPT, but
Yep.
it's been doing every time you use a smartphone way before ChatGPT, you were actually using AI. You just didn't know it.
Right.
And it will increasingly become invisible once again.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to go back a couple of steps. Can you walk us through your quick filter, like skip it, study it, or strike it now? Like, how do you decide?
Well, you mentioned the word skip it, and that's a principle that people absolutely love that I teach. So let me give that to you. Um, Let me do it this way. I'd like you all to think of your biggest problem right now. You don't have to say what it is. I'd like you to think of your very biggest problem. Usually it doesn't take long to surface, right? Now,
Hmm?
here's what I'd like you to do. Skip it. Skip it altogether. Why? Because it's the wrong problem. No wonder you're stuck. And I found this to be true with every CEO I've talked to, and I've talked to Fortune 5 CEOs. And I always like to, when I first meet them, I always like to ask, what's your biggest problem? Because I already know whatever they say, that's not it. And it never is.
Right.
It's always something else that is totally solvable. You have to dig down. You have to ask why a few times. And let me give you a very simple example. My niece, Hallie, called me not recently. She's got her first job
Mhm.
and she can't save money. And she said, and she knows it's possible. Her older sister, Audrey, can save money like crazy. Hallie, it just is gone. And she
Right.
said, Uncle Dan, I've been trying really hard to save money, but I can't save any money. And I said, no wonder you're working on the wrong thing. Why don't you work on how you spend money?
Yeah. Hmm.
Right? That was the real problem. So working on saving money isn't going to work, and she just gets frustrated. Yeah, no wonder, working on the wrong thing. So I gave you a simple example, but we tend to be working on the wrong problem. That's why we're stuck. Get unstuck. Ask why a few times, and you can drill down to find the real one, which is totally solvable. That's one element to skip it. The other
Hmm.
element to skip it is to skip it altogether. You thought you had to do something. Really? Do you?
Hmm.
I'm starting a business. I need to get an office. Do you? You
Yeah.
really need an office? That kind of thing. Uh,
Right.
so uh, Let me give you a couple of other business examples of skip it. I was working with a major hotel chain. They built 10 new hotels, and everybody after they opened were complaining about the slow elevators. And by the way, you can't just speed up an elevator.
No.
You'd have to rip them all out. I mean, you'd have to start over, which is financially impossible. So they had an impossible problem. Everybody was complaining about the slow elevators. So they were
Mhm.
stuck. And I went and worked with them and said, well, no wonder it's the wrong problem. What's
Yeah.
the real problem? Oh, they're bored waiting for the elevator. Let's give them something to do. So what did we do? We put a mirror in right by every elevator. All the problems, all the complaints went away. They all went away. Because now you're looking, hey, how do I look? Check your dress, check your suit. Oh, it's here already. Wow. And it all went away. So you see, again, I'm just giving you a quick business example of skip it. I'll give you one more interesting one. I'm sure everybody has seen the very first Jaws movie. I'm sure you've seen the first Jaws movie. Well, it
Yeah.
almost didn't happen because when they were making the first Jaws movie, they were having trouble getting the shark to look real. They could not get it to look real. So already they were in trouble until they skipped it. And they said, let's not show the shark. Let's show what the shark sees when it's looking up at the people in the water.
Right.
And then later in the movie, when everybody is bought into the story, we'll
Hmm.
show the stupid looking shark. But by then, we're already into the story and don't care.
Yeah.
That's skip it. See, we skipped it.
Uh-huh.
Let's skip showing the
Mhm.
shark in the beginning. Let's show what the shark sees instead. And by the way, there's another principle, and that is opposites work better.
Yes.
What's the opposite? Let's not show the shark. Let's show the opposite. Let's not see the shark at all.
Right.
Right? So I have a number in my book, Anticipatory Organization. I have like 28 lessons, and I gave you three: hard trends, soft trends, and skip it. But it's
Yeah.
loaded with others because to be truly anticipatory is more of an ecosystem of strategies and thinking. Frankly, really, it's changing how you think because when you change how you think, you change how you act. When you change how you act, you change your results.
I love that. I love that. Now, where do leaders waste most of their energy? Like, what are the top two illusions of urgency to ignore?
Well, that's a great question. I think one of the ones is it's based on not having a good definition of hard versus soft,
Yeah.
because most of them are extremely worried about soft trends that they could influence, thinking
Mhm.
they're hard and they can't influence them.
Right.
And I find that all the time. Like, for example, and I've surveyed thousands of executives, not just by calling them, but by actually talking to them, you know.
Right.
And
Hmm.
one of them is attracting and retaining talent
Hmm.
is a big issue on everybody's playbook. But
Right.
first of all, let's take retaining talent. What
Mhm.
is the world of retail doing right now? They're trying to transform the customer experience.
Right.
What would I say to a business? Maybe you ought to transform the employee experience.
Yeah.
If you transform the explorer employee experience,
Hmm.
you wouldn't have such a problem with keeping them.
Yes.
Secondly, are you in a protect and defend mindset, which means we're protecting and defending our cash cow and the status quo, which means if I'm a smart employee, I want to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
But if instead of a protect and defend, if I had a embrace and extend, embrace the new hard trends and extend their reach, well, there's a
Yeah.
future here. I think I'll stay. See, once again, it's all about adjusting how they think. Um,
Yes.
so I think that is a big one that I see. And by and attracting talent, they might say, I can't find it, qualified talent. I can't attract them.
Yes.
And I would say that you've probably got a one size fits all way of attracting people.
Hmm.
In other words, there are a lot of different demographics. Let's go back to the hard trend, the different demographics. And Gen Z, Gen Y, all the different demographics use technology differently. They
Yes.
respond differently. They
Yep.
communicate, collaborate differently. So what if I had a attract talent, qualified talent, designed for a different approach for each demographic?
Right.
I
Very.
could find more. And by the way, I've also invoked the I'm not a protector of the past, I'm an embracer of the future. You know what?
Hmm.
You're going to attract a lot of talent.
Right.
So again, you see how, so someone's saying the trend is hard to attract qualified talent.
Hmm.
Soft, totally soft.
Yes.
All of your other businesses, your competitors will probably be saying that next year and the year after. But you
Yeah.
don't have to be saying that. You, if you realize it's a soft trend, could change that.
Yes.
So, coming back to your big question, which was a really good one, I like it. What are they most worried about? Soft trends they think are hard.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. And I like the analysis where you talk about how they get stuck in that certain box and they're looking at one specific personality category or generation category. And that is why they keep attracting, because that's a common thing I hear from people. I can't find good help. I can't find the right employees, and you hear that all the time. And it's a
Well,
biggie.
I got to add to that. People are saying, I can't find help. Remember, I mentioned earlier, one of my strategies is opposites work better. It's a
Yes.
good one to employ. So instead of, I can't find qualified talent. What's the opposite? How do I get qualified talent to find me?
Yes.
What do I need to do different to get them to say, hey, there's that company over there. Look what they're doing. I'd like to work for a company like that. You
Right.
see, so again, we're flipping it.
I love that. Yeah. Very effective. Now, innovation without chaos. Like, what's your simple play to a de-risk a new idea in 14 days?
Well, you can do it in even less than 14 days. Again, you're talking about to de-risk. Well,
Yes.
when you are using and defining hard trends versus soft trends, you can you can innovate with very low risk.
Hmm.
Because remember, I gave you the example of the boat,
Yes.
the trailer. By the
Hmm.
way, that's a super low risk innovation.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't do it, someone else will. And
Hmm.
uh, and there are thousands and thousands of those. So what I want to do is take the risk away by making sure my innovation is based on a hard trend that I know is going to happen anyway.
Right.
Then the risk is not doing it. So you de-risk. Once again, I come back to looking at hard and soft so you can start measuring, what is the risk? And again, the real risk is in then not doing it.
Right.
And that can propel you forward. See, it's game changing. It
Yeah.
changes how you plan, it changes how you innovate, and so on.
I love that. I love that. Now, how do you keep a team aligned when the outside of the world is noisy?
Well, the only thing that can't be copied by a competitor is your culture.
Hmm.
And we need to spend time on really working on our culture. And by the way, I want to migrate them from a reactionary culture that's agile to an anticipatory culture that
Hmm.
is shaping a positive future for themselves and for others.
Right.
Okay. And one of the keys here is the word future view.
Hmm.
And that's one of the very first concepts I started sharing decades ago. And I started doing this particular company and business and speaking and so on, and writing. And that is how you view the future to a great extent shapes how you act in the present. Think
Hmm.
about it. Right now, there are people that are buying Bitcoin. Other people are selling Bitcoin. What's the difference? Their future view of Bitcoin. Some kids are thinking of going to college. Some are thinking of going to drugs. What's the difference? Hey, it's their future view. You may have a key customer who is thinking of leaving. Why? Because their future view of staying has changed. You may
Hmm.
have a super productive employee that's thinking of leaving. Why? Their future view of staying has changed. In other words, you need to manage the future view. So here, how you view the future shapes how you act in the present. How you
Yes.
act in the present shapes your future. In other words, your future view will determine the future you. And I would like to suggest right now that everyone listening to this, everyone watching this, your future view is based on a rear view mirror, not a windshield. You're
Yes.
looking at what you're used to and the past with a little bit of the present thrown in.
Right.
Instead of looking at the opportunities the hard trends are offering, looking forward. And when you
Yes.
start realizing, and I've worked with companies all over the world on this, in 51 countries, by the way, and when you start realizing there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hard trend opportunities and hundreds of soft trend opportunities that you can influence to turn into an advantage that are other people's disadvantage, all of a sudden, whoa, the future is a bonanza. Holy cow.
That's so true.
So,
Now, what?
future view. So, let me come back, nail that
Yeah.
concept in that. So, what is the future view of your employees? What is the future view of your customers? What's the future view of, and then go on, of the board of directors? and
Hmm.
uh, and then look at how can we use hard trends to influence and elevate that future view. Because if you elevate their future view, guess what'll happen? You'll have a better future.
Yes, 100%. You're right on the ball. Now, when it comes to metrics, because metrics that matter, what should we track weekly to prove that we are moving the needles right?
Well, what I like to do is have um, a failure index, not just a success index. Because one of the
Ah,
things that when I started my first business long ago, I had been, before that, I was teaching biology and physics. So I was a teacher. I had no business classes at all. And because I was a teacher, obviously I didn't have a lot of money either.
yeah,
So one of the things that, two things that I decided to do in the beginning that helped me create within 12 months a business that had 37 national locations and was profitable and with no loans. And
right.
the two big things was one, I knew that I would not be competing. Why?
Mhm.
Because I didn't know how to compete. I never had a business class. So I looked at what the others were doing so that I knew what not to do.
Right.
Right? So I don't want to compete at all. I want to
Mhm.
be the competition rather than compete with the competition. And then the
Right.
second thing is I needed to fail fast because I couldn't afford to fail slow. And most of us have success metrics. Here's what 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months looks like to be successful. But a lot of
Yes.
times we're failing, and that failing goes out year after year after year. I mean, for some of you business owners, how many times have you hired someone and in the first week you know it was a bad decision, but you didn't let them go for like 2 or 3 years
Right.
through a bunch of bad reviews when you
Hmm.
knew, right? It didn't take long and you already knew. And by the
Right.
way, you should have failed fast on that. So I like to have, here's what success looks like, but by the way, here's what failure looks like and the metrics for failure so that I know which way I'm going. Because I don't
Right.
want to be going a long time in the failure route.
Yes.
I want to fail fast. Why? So I can learn faster.
Hmm. I
So
like
I want
that.
success metrics and the other as well.
That's excellent. I never really thought about that, keeping track of your failure, your failure records, because you immediately when you're starting to fail, you're starting to decline in an area, you automatically try to fix it and find a solution, but you don't really keep track of those failures. You're just focusing on the solution and focusing on how to get out of there and and reach that goal that you anticipated or get as close as possible to it. But you're not really focusing on the why and what caused that failure. You're more focused on that solution
Yeah.
and
And sometimes we fall in love with it too,
yeah.
especially if it was our idea. But we have to be willing to take our ego out of it. It isn't
Yes,
whether it's my idea or somebody else's. It's,
exactly.
is this heading towards failure or is
Yes,
it heading towards success? And
right.
if you can, whatever you're doing, if it's going in a direction that is being propelled faster and bigger growing just
Mhm.
by the hard trend shaping the future,
Yes,
then you have the wind at your back.
I love that. That's an excellent answer. Now, purpose drives patience. How do you connect purpose, priorities in the calendar so important finally wins?
Well, I think a lot of people are told to find a passion and wrap a career around it. I've heard that so many times. But
Yeah.
when things get difficult, passion doesn't fuel you.
Hmm.
Purpose does.
Yeah.
So, figuring out what is your purpose and to help you define purpose a little better, let me give you all an insight, and that is, do you have a business, a professional, and a personal impact statement?
Mm.
Let's think about that. We have a vision statement. By the way, that's good, nice to have. You got a mission statement. That's good. That's nice to have. But what's the impact that your organization is going to have? What's the impact on that new product you're launching? What's the impact on you as the head of HR? What's the
Yeah.
impact that you will have on your grandkids if you're older? Yeah, I like to have an impact statement because if I have an impact statement, I'm more likely to have that impact. Most of
Yeah.
us do not have impact statements.
Right.
And that we tends to tie to purpose.
Yes.
So they get connected. So
Hmm.
purpose is nice, but purpose without an impact statement is okay, but not great.
Right. I like that. And what do you tell a high performer on the edge of burnout who still wants to keep going and they want to win and they don't want to stop?
I got a perfect thing for them. Um, you've been focusing on success all your life. That's what you've been focusing on. Let's understand what success is. Success is all about you.
Hmm.
Success is about how much money you make, how big your commissions are, how cool your car is, how fancy your watch is. It's how many degrees you have. And if it's a company, it's all about your growth and revenue. Success is all about you. I would like you to shift your thinking. I would like you to focus on significance because significance isn't about you at all. Significance is about what you do for others. So when
Yes,
you can elevate your significance every year, you'll find yourself being far more successful than you, the high performer, have ever been because you've been too busy focusing on you and your success and not elevating everyone else's.
I love that. That's very good. And a lot of people don't think of it like that. And people do, but they go through a run of the mill before they get to that point, and then they realize that, success wasn't what they thought it was. And then they realize that the pleasure of giving back and helping others and really putting yourself out there for the good of grace of others is more meaningful than that nice car. Because once you get all that nice house and this and this and this and this, a lot of people like, doesn't really bring me that happiness I thought it was going to bring. It's not really fulfilling me. This is not what I thought it was going to feel like. And you hear that from many people.
And by the way, there are huge financial rewards, let's not skip that, in
Hmm.
focusing on elevating your significance. See,
Yes.
that isn't just, I'm going to do a lot of great things for free.
Hmm.
Instead, I'm going to do a lot for others because that's the goal. I want to
Yeah.
elevate my significance, and success actually is a result rather than the goal.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I love that. Now, Daniel, for listeners that were promised 5 concrete actions, what are 5 things that they could do this week to install anticipatory edge?
Okay, well, I think we covered a couple of them already.
Hmm.
One is to make a list of those hard trends and related opportunities. Remember the categories.
Yep.
Secondly, make a list of the soft trends that you can influence and the things that you can influence them with. Third is to take those hard trends and ask yourself, what are the predictable problems based on those hard trends that I'm going to have? And pre-solve them so you don't have them so you can move forward faster.
Hmm.
Another one is to take your biggest problems and decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to skip every one of them.
Right.
I'm going to come down to either here's what it really is, or ask myself, do I really need to do that? Maybe I only thought I needed to do that.
Right.
And lastly is to not be in a protect and defend mode with your cash cow, your business, all the things that are making you all your money, but be into an embrace and extend mode where you're embracing the transformational changes that are happening and extend their reach. Because
Mhm.
you're otherwise you're fighting the forces of change and transformation.
I love that. I love that. Now, can you tell everybody about the services that you provide?
Well, on Burrus, BURRUS.com, you can find an award-winning learning system. I've got the Anticipatory Organization for Companies and the Anticipatory Organization for Leaders. And it's
Mhm.
really a transformation accelerator. Every lesson is taught in little 4-minute videos with a rapid application tool and an AI assist coming from my knowledge base. It's
Right.
amazingly powerful. You'll get in there, you'll find that I've got many books. Again, there's blogs, there's articles that I've written. I've got card decks based on my principles that you can play with, all kinds of resources. Don't forget to take a look at the books. I mentioned Anticipatory Organization. The book before that was called Flash Foresight, How to See the Invisible and Do the Impossible, which was not only number one, a New York Times, Wall Street Journal bestseller, It was actually a bestseller in every book category on Amazon, including fiction. It's really cool.
Wow.
It's cool to beat Harry Potter. So it must be good. You got to check these out. So head to Amazon and once again, follow me on LinkedIn. I post regularly in there. I think I've got 1.2 million followers because why? Well, they're liking what they're getting. I think you might enjoy the conversation.
I love it. Well, Daniel, this has been wonderful. I thank you so much for being on the show. Your wisdom and your knowledge base goes through the roof, and the strategies and tools that you taught today were just unbelievable. I think they're going to find many people are going to find them very useful to apply to their own businesses and their own lives, and be able to really excel to the level that they have, really wanted to reach in their lives. And I thank you so much for being on the show. You're just unbelievable. I hope you'll come back and we can talk some more and focus on more areas, but you are just truly outstanding. You just blew me away today. And I don't say that to many people.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I loved your questions and your comments. And by the way, you did really good on these hard, soft trend things. So, uh, fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And you have a great day.
Thanks.